Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football, TITTH number 185. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. We got a special guest tonight. I got Jeremy at Popes FFH on Twitter. How are we doing, sir? Happy Thursday.
I am excellent. Thursday's here. We got some football. Hopefully a game that hits the over finally. Yeah. I'm ready for it. I want to shoot out. I'm tired of defensive football is always good football, but I want it.
I'm tired of surprises. Tired of surprises. I want the Bucs to cover tonight handedly. I want them to handle the Eagles, but that probably won't happen. So I'm staying away from the spread tonight. Saw a lot of early movement already. I went to literally bet the Eagles at 7.5, and they pulled it down a full point, which scared the hell out of me. So I was like, no, not doing that. Now I'm seeing it go back and forth between 6.5 and 7. I'm staying away. I got a bad taste in my mouth from Monday Night Football with the Ravens. I had 6.5, and we don't kick Pats in overtime, so I don't get to cover. So what are you gonna
do? Oof, that's rough.
Yeah, I don't want any surprises. The Colts threw it in my face on Monday night, and yeah, I'm staying away from that. But I do agree with you. I'm really in on the over. I love over 52.5. Like that a lot. I think there's a lot of opportunity for offense in this game.
Yeah, I don't like the spread either. I think they cover it.
I think they do, but
I think it's tighter than we think. But
yeah,
it'd be nice if they don't.
I think the Eagles will cover. Like I said, that was my pick. Like that was my gut instinct. But then I started seeing all the movement, and I was like, you know what? I'm getting, like I said, those thoughts on Monday night. I'm gonna stay away. I'm gonna bet it live. Maybe I'll do something similar to Monday night when the Colts went up early, grabbed the Ravens money line. Had to really, really sweat that out, but we got that. Like, we hedged our bet a little bit there because I didn't love that start with Jonathan Taylor making that house call. But
right.
I digress. Let's jump into tonight's action a little bit. I got some best bets here. I got an anytime Antonio Brown touchdown, Hurts over 1.5 passing touchdowns, Devante Smith over 5.5 catches, and I love the over in the game. But for the first quarter, we're getting 10 points, 2 touchdowns, a field goal, and a touchdown is a push. So I really like the odds there. Any of those that you really like over any of the any others that I mentioned, or prioritize any one of those over another?
I like all of them. Kind of how you said, that's a great list. I would say maybe the hardest one, if for some odd reason that something happens, would be Devante Smith. I see him getting over 5, but that would be the only one that would worry me. I think Hurts definitely has 2 passing touchdowns tonight. AB is probably going to score. I think AB right now is on fire. Tom Brady loves him. And being that third receiver in that offense just really, it makes it hard for teams to cover him that well. Because even if they put that guy, he beats top corners and he always has. So, and then the 10 points in the first quarter seems like a slam dunk to me.
I hope so.
You know what I mean? Maybe not, but it just seems like both these teams have some defensive injuries. And then I think 10 points in the first quarter is going to be easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Bucs secondary was already beat up coming into this game. I know they lost Levante David. He's going to be out of this game. It looks like Jason Pierre-Paul is going to be probable, so he should be good to go. But we're still missing, Sean Murphy-Bunting. We're missing Carlton Davis, and Antoine Winfield are all out. So 3 of their 4 starting defensive backs out of this matchup already. Not a great start, and their secondary wasn't really playing that well to begin with anyways. But we'll get to that here soon as we get into the actual preview of the game. Let's start off with some more props. We're looking at our monkey knife fight props. Paired up here in this first matchup, we've got Chris Godwin versus Miles Sanders. Looking at fantasy points, over under 16.5 for Godwin and over under 10.5 for Miles Sanders. I have a feeling of the under for both of these, but what do you think?
I'm going to say the over on Godwin. I think Godwin might have a big night. Okay. Like I said, AB's kind of been on fire this week or last couple of weeks, and I feel like maybe they're going to prioritize covering him with their better corners. And Godwin might be able to slip in the slot a little bit. And I think from what I remember, Philadelphia's worse against slot corner or at slot receiver position. Like they give up more points there because they are good against receivers, but they're worse in the slot than outside. So I'm going to hit Godwin on the over on this one. But it's going to be close, like 17, 18. Like he's going to just get over, I think. And Sanders, I'm hitting the under. I don't like Sanders tonight. Tampa's too good against the run. I'm big on Gainwell tonight. I think that he sees that passing work. We've seen it. A couple guys have done it. Gaskins, Cordell Patterson done really well outside of like receiving, and then Devonte David not being there even helps that a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely agreeing with you on Miles Sanders, definitely taking the under there. He had 5 catches for 5 targets last week. You know how far he went with those?
I don't remember. Wasn't it like only a couple of yards?
Yeah, 6 yards, man. Not a ton of value there. I'm also prioritizing Kenny Gainwell tonight. He's in my starting lineup, albeit it's a very deep league. It's like 20 teams. I got injuries, I got buys, so he's in there. I'm pulling for him tonight, and I feel like that's really how you combat the Bucs rushing defense. Is you really try to get your running backs out into the flat and get them some easy catches and move the chains. Chris Godwin, I think he's got to hit a touchdown, so that's just really what's holding me back here. I think he's looking at like 5 for 75, 5 catches, 75 receiving yards. I think Tom is going to spread the ball around a little bit, but I do think there is a little bit more upside with Godwin coming in with Tom's injured thumb. I don't know if that's going to be a big deal or really a narrative that plays tonight. If it is, then maybe he is hitting some more underneath looks, and there's a little bit more volume for Godwin with Mike Evans trying to open up the field going down the sidelines. All right, let's move along here. Next one up, we've got Leonard Fournette versus Devante Smith. Love both of these. Leonard Fournette's looking at a rushing prop of 65.5 rushing yards and Devante Smith of 74.5. I love the overs for both. They're both trending in positive directions, both very good matchups. Secondary for the Bucs is really weak. The rushing defense for the Eagles is weak. Love these numbers. Give me the overs for both. You agree?
Yeah. Again, I probably just worry a little bit on Devante Smith, but Fournette I'm in on. Because I just worry. I believe Lane Johnson's not playing too for Philadelphia, so I'm a little worried how much time Hurts is actually going to have to throw, and if he does get flushed, he might just run versus the throw. But Smith easily could hit 75, so it's one of those 50-50 for me. That's the same thing with like the over 5 catches. I could easily see him getting it, but then I can also see it where of anybody he gets shut down, and it's a big Quez Watkins or Rieger night. So or Zach Ertz.
Yeah, and Zach Ertz too with Dallas Goedert being injured. Or not injured, but has COVID or on the COVID list, whatever. All right, cool. Let's move along. Looking at the quarterbacks here, Tom Brady versus Jaylen Hurst, both at 23.5 fantasy points. I think I'm going to go with the over for both. Tom has had 4 passing touchdowns in 3 of his 5 games so far. Not saying he's going to hit 4, but obviously there's a good amount of upside for him to hit 2 or 3. Jaylen Hurst, getting yards on the ground, extra plays with his legs. Passing touchdowns have been there. Rushing touchdowns have been there. I like the upside for both.
Yeah, I agree. Hurts is averaging over 23 points a game right now in PPR format. I don't exactly know. Is Monkey Knife Fight PPR? I probably should know.
It is, but quarterbacks usually don't catch a lot of passes, so you don't have to really worry about that.
You never know, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Philly
Get
special.
that extra point.
Yeah, what if he throws it as bad and then he catches his own ball? See? 1 point. Boom.
We've seen it happen before. You'd
be surprised. There are some that are out there, though.
The big difference is the 4-point passing for touchdowns. So 4 points for a passing touchdown. That's why, if anything, I would say it's more likely that Hurts hits the over just based off of the rushing ability because he's still going to have that rushing premium on the yardage. So I still think Tom can hit it even with the 4-point touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's actually jump into the preview here. Going to be a little bit more telling of the game flow and what we're actually thinking of the outcome here. Let's start with the over because it sounds like we're both pretty in on the over. Is there anything that you would see happening in this game that would prevent us from going to the over, whether it's an injury or something that we're missing as far as defensive upside, like we had mentioned, like obviously the Bucs secondary, it's beat up. They have injuries. They weren't great to begin with before that. Now they're pretty thin back there. You're looking at, was it Richard Sherman? Is it Jamal Dean? And then Jordan Whitehead. Do you know who's filling in for Antoine Winfield?
I do not.
Yeah, I don't know either. But either way, Richard Sherman and Jamal Dean, Pierre Desir, those aren't corners that are going to scare me tonight whatsoever. So no. I think that the Eagles could come out and actually play stinker and maybe even put one in the end zone on the first drive.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm concerned I'm concerned for Tampa if they roll out Richard Sherman against Devante Smith personally. I don't like Richard Sherman against either of these guys. I just think that all 3 of the receivers can spread the field very quickly. They're all fast guys, and Richard Sherman does not have that. He can get a little bit more physical, but if they try to line him up with Devante Smith might have a huge night because just his ability to create separation, the physicality is not going to work on Devante Smith. So I mean, aside from them hitting the only way I don't see it hitting the over would be an injury, like you had said. Tom Brady's coming in with that thumb injury. If something happens there, maybe Aside from that, I don't see an injury that's going to really force that out of the over.
Right,
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
And I'm not buying into that narrative. I don't think we're going to have any
I
crazy
don't think so
occurrences
either.
like that. If anything, I would think something random would happen that would push the number up and not backwards. So
Yeah.
I really love the over 52.5. I took it very early today. Saw some movement going up to 53, even 54. So love that number. The Bucks have hit it 4 out of 5 games. The only game that the Bucks have not hit the over was a rainy night in New England and Tom's return. This game, a lot less emotional, better weather. I know it's a short week, on the road for Tom Brady and the Bucks, but I still trust them a lot to run up the score and to win this. They're minus 300 on the money line as a favorite, so I think we both agree that they're gonna win outright, right?
Yeah, I'm in on them winning outright.
Okay, so now let's jump to the spread, which obviously feels like a little more difficult. For some reason, the latest update that I added to our sheet here, the Bucks covering 7.5 is at plus money. So they've definitely moved it down to 7 by now, I'm sure. But even if they give that even money, the books aren't, they're giving you better odds, to lay the money with the Bucks. I don't want to do it. I'm just really scared of that secondary. We mentioned Devante David's going to be out. Maybe there's a little bit of extra opportunity on the ground. I mean, the Bucks have the number 1 rushing defense. It's not something that you want to, dive headfirst into. That's to me. Hopefully they don't set the first couple of play calls up to that where let's just play into their strength. I'd like to see the Eagles come out and play aggressive. That's why I was on them earlier to actually take the cover, but I'm too scared. I'm scared money don't make money. I get it, but I don't want to lay the points with the Eagles just yet. I'd like to see a little bit of action here. Is there enough? Do you have enough confidence to lay one over the other?
Yeah, I think the Eagles cover the spread. Even though I do think this game hits the over. We always see it Thursday, Mondays, Sunday mornings. They're always crazy games. Stuff happens. You get on prime time, teams play better. Hey, it's coming again.
We're coming again.
We get another week.
Looking forward to it.
Right. But yeah, I think the Eagles cover the spread. I think this game's closer than we think. I think it might be a field goal type game. Mm-hmm. So I'm in on it. I would bet it outright right now that the Eagles cover that spread at 7.5. If it gets much lower, then maybe not. But yeah, I also just don't. I think the injuries and everything, it all narratively lines up where you want to be like, oh yeah, Tampa's going to walk in there and kill them. But it's a road game. It's in Philly. Mm-hmm. They just came off a pretty big come from behind win against Carolina. They're feeling good. So I'm in on it. I think Jaylen Hurst has more to prove than Tom Brady, but I just think that they're going to be a little bit more, let's make a statement game. You know what I mean? So I'm in on them covering that.
Yeah, I mean, for all those reasons, I was in on them earlier. When I started going back and looking at the games and the logs and everything, when you look at the Eagles when they've played up against what I would consider the fireworks, the high octane offenses, teams that move the ball down the field, specifically referring to Dallas and Kansas City, they weren't able to cover the spread. In those games, they were really competitive, but even the passing offense of those of the Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys, they smoked them. You know what I mean? And this is a secondary that ranks 3rd in the league for passing yards allowed. So I'm still a little hesitant to lay the points with them because I've seen good quarterbacks produce at a high level. Mahomes had 5 passing touchdowns. Dak went 21 for 26, 3 passing touchdowns. I'm scared. That's as easy as I can explain it. I'm worried about laying the points with the Eagles. I feel like it could get into one of those narratives or game flows like in the 3rd or 4th quarter where Tampa, just being the better team, all around, is able to create that separation. So that's my reasoning from staying away from it. I had Driscoll in the chat here saying to make a pick. We got Sage in here saying he sees goats. Got some goat milk, but that's about it. But appreciate you, sir. But yeah, I'm scared to take the Eagles. Maybe I eat that one and maybe I grab them live and get some better value. But I want to wait through the first couple of drives and maybe make some moves on the spread at that time.
And that might be the smart move. And I'm risking it. I'm risking it for the best.
I hear you. I mean,
I'm young enough. I can recover.
I love the plus money for the Buccaneers, but sports books will do that to you sometimes, man. They'll try to rope you in. They'll start playing mind games with you. Not to get too far off topic, but I took the Tampa Bay Lightning to cover on plus money the other night. Stanley Cup champs, defending, going up against the Penguins who were hobbled, didn't have any star in sight, and they got crushed. So it's typically my luck.
Sounds about right.
Right. All right, let's go through some Thursday night football start and sit questions. First up here, we're looking at Tom Brady tonight versus the Eagles or Matt Stafford this weekend versus the Giants. Which direction are you going?
Tom Brady. I like Stafford this week. I just feel like they might get out pretty early, and you might see a lot of Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson in that game. Especially if Glennon's playing. Nothing against Mike Glennon, but that against that secondary, and who knows who's going to be even play wide receiver. You know what I mean? Tony's hurt. Like Tony was their guy, and now he's hurt. Now we might have John Ross and Colin Johnson. So, yeah, I'm going to take Tom Brady.
Yeah, I'm going Tom Brady as well. Like I mentioned earlier, 3 of his 5 games so far, he has 4 passing touchdowns or more. A lot of upside going up against this Eagles defense. We got Steve jumping in. How we doing, sir?
What's going on, guys? How's it going?
Hey, pretty good. How was work?
Work.
Work. All right.
Work.
Working overtime. Or we're doing some sitter starts. Tom Brady or Matt Stafford? Tom Brady tonight or Matt Stafford versus the Giants this weekend? What do you think?
I'm going Matt Stafford all the way. I think the Eagles have a decent pass defense that'll kind of be getting the Buccaneers to get them to run the ball. Fournette should have a big day, so I will go Stafford.
Okay, sounds good. You buying into the thumb narrative at all?
What thumb narrative is that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. He's got a bum thumb. I don't know.
Don't worry, I heard about it on the pregame today too. I didn't even know it was a thing till like 6 p.m. today.
So not worried about it.
I told one of my buddies, I texted him, I said, hey man, just the over tonight. Don't bet the spread. Something weird's gonna happen, right? And he's like, oh no, I'm in on the Eagles. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, on the spread. And I was like, all right, I don't hate that. That was kind of like my instincts, but I'm staying away. And then he's like, oh, but I'm on the under. I was just like, come on. Killing me. But that's all right. His picks are always off, so I'm guaranteed to make money tonight. We'll see.
Whatever
right,
he
next
picks,
up,
you pick the opposite.
Yeah, pretty much. He's always the one texting me. He's like, "You're not gonna believe who I picked." I was like, "Well, the team that's probably not covering right now, or that should be covering by like 8 more points than they are." Next up, I got Jaylen Hurst tonight or Aaron Rodgers versus Chicago this weekend. What do we got?
Sorry, Justin. Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
Aaron Rodgers, I think historically I saw a stat that he's like thrown for like 4 touchdowns against Chicago, for like the last 3 or 4 games, isn't it? Or something like that crazy. So I think he's going to have a big game again. He just doesn't like the Bears. He tends to
do that against us.
Yeah. He doesn't like you guys.
All for good.
Yeah. So I got to go Rodgers too. I mean, it's tough, but he's going to probably just shred the Bears, and it'll leave Bears fans just scratching their head like, what's going on, really? It's probably going to be a big loss at home for the Bears. Jaylen Hurst, I just really wasn't inspired by his play last week versus Carolina, so it's easy to go with Rodgers here.
I like the upside going up against this bad secondary versus the Bucks, but I still got to go with Aaron Rodgers. He plays really, really well up against Chicago. Chicago defense has been playing really well, leads the league in sacks, but offense isn't there. I don't think that they're going to produce enough positive game flow to really stay in this game. I see the Bears falling behind early. I could see them down 13-0 in the first quarter, something like that. So I'm gonna stay away from Hurts tonight. I'll go with Aaron Rodgers.
Anybody watching the pregame?
I have it on, but no volume. So like right now, Jalen Hurts is just standing around.
How would you say that they said their stat there's Jalen Hurts produces 72% of the offense?
That doesn't seem crazy.
I know,
he's
but
kind of playing that Lamar Jackson role there, right?
I'm curious on how they figure that out. I mean, he's a quarterback. Don't you think he's?
Well, it's just total yardage, right? So like Lamar Jackson, he accounted for. They had 522 yards last week, and he accounted for 473.
Yeah. See, that's what I was trying to figure out is how they're figuring out that stat.
Yeah, it's just total yardage by the team, and then you work in your rushing and your passing.
That's what I got you for. I'm not the same.
That's right. That's right. All right, next up, we got Miles Sanders tonight versus Devin Singletary versus Tennessee this weekend. This one's tough for me. Tough. Devin Singletary isn't doing anything. Jeremy, you're the Buffalo fan. What do we got?
Man, waiver wire. I'm going to take Sanders. I think he has the higher upside of those two.
Okay.
Zach Moss played 74% of the snaps last week against Kansas City in a shootout, and Tennessee's probably going to be a shootout again. I think they just throw the ball. They just don't care to run it. So that's what Devin Singletary had against Zach Moss was the passing game, and it's kind of seemed to start to shift more towards Zach Moss lately. So I'm really out on him. I think he had 2 PPR points last week. So I think Miles Sanders will outperform him, but not by much. So
all right, fair enough. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear Jeremy say that because I had to pick up Zach Moss, and that's been huge for me. I've just been devastated at running back, and so it's paid off. So I'm glad to hear that. So I'm going to have to go Miles Sanders too. I do think he's got a bigger role, so he just has more opportunity there. The matchup for Singletary isn't bad with Tennessee's weak defense, but I got to go opportunity over that.
I'm going to go with Devin Singletary just because it would be the week that I would bench him, right? Kind of like Myles Gaskin last week. Like this is Devin Singletary game. This is Devin Singletary game. I'm feeling it.
I just watched Gaskin go blow up my one share. Watch him blow it up, and I'm like, okay.
That was rough. So Jeremy, the league where you and I are in, I actually have Gaskin, and I had him on the bench, and I scored the most points this week. So I was like, oh, cool, that's great, that's amazing, right? Another league on the bench, least amount of points in the league. Like highs and lows.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a guy that has lost almost his entire running back room in every single league, so it's all right. Rough. I'm real low. There's no highs. I have none yet.
There's only lows. Yeah. What, you don't have any winning records? You got to have a winning record.
I have a couple, but
a couple's a couple.
Yeah, well, when you're in a lot of leagues, you
got to have at least one or two leagues that gets you up at 4 or 5 in the morning, like waivers. Like I got to stay on top of this league. I got to stay on top of them.
Yeah, there's a couple. They're mostly home leagues.
Those are the ones that are typically going to be most exciting. You're going to be most invested in. So that's fair. All right, next one up here, we've got Kenny Gainwell, hot commodity tonight, versus Latavius Murray versus the Chargers this weekend. I'm going Gainwell.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you. It's a good matchup. The Chargers are actually surprisingly really bad against running backs right now. They've also faced some really good ones, so that's part of the problem. Probably if you really look at their per game stats, but I'm kind of sadly, this is the strangest thing that you'll probably hear in a long time. At least it is when I say it in my mind. But I'm kind of out on all the Baltimore running backs. Ever since they lost my one favorite and J.K. Dobbins, it's so sad, terrible day. But
you really feel it when the jersey's like right behind you.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts a lot. But they're just unexciting. Latavius Murray hasn't been able to do anything. Tyson Williams kind of did something for like 2 games, and then now they just don't want to use him. And then Devontae Freeman just is juking out air, and I'd risk it with Kenny Gainwell. The upside's really big there. Like we'd said last week, Gaskins against Tampa Bay had a big game. Cordell Patterson had a big game against Tampa. So Gainwell's their impromptu passing down back, so I'm in on it. I think he could have the higher upside of producing a wow game. Like, oh, wow, we didn't see this coming. So even though a lot of people are kind of in on him.
What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I'm on Gainwell. That's actually one of my best bets for the night. Nice. I like him rushing and receiving over 40.5. I just think he's really going to eat up some targets, and the Eagles could find themselves down early. So he's going to get, the share of the work there. Jeremy's right. That Baltimore backfield, it's tough. I mean, it's similar to the 49ers. No one's very good in it, and they seem to have like 10 different backs. So I just think Gainwell, he's easy pick here.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite the elite upside of Latavius Murray in PPR, I am going to go with Kenny Gainwell. Jeremy, this last game with Baltimore, I took a prop on Latavius Murray over 3.5 receiving yards. Sweated it out till about the third quarter. Took a nice little 1 catch for 6 yards. Can't beat that, baby. That's how we take it to the Hizzy over here. It's 3.5 yards. Like we were doing it. On
he hadn't had a catch all. Yeah, he hadn't had a catch all year, or even a target all year.
Yeah, we were doing it live on the show. We're just like, no, have to. Can't say no. We're here to have fun. All right, next up, Leonard Fournette tonight versus Josh Jacobs versus Denver this weekend. I like Leonard Fournette. I think it's still a really good matchup.
Yeah, I'm smashing Fournette on this side. I do not like Josh Jacobs against Denver. Denver's really good against the run lately. I think they're top 5 in points allowed to the position so far for the season. So I am out on Josh Jacobs, especially coming off of all the news with John Gruden and the new offensive coordinator and all the interim head coaches, and just the whole thing is a sticky situation. I expect Vegas to not look that great this weekend. I could be wrong. Maybe they come out and they're just like
super happy.
Have like a great game. Like
this is amazing.
Yeah, but I don't see that. So I'm kind of down on that. I like Fournette.
Yeah, Fournette's got a really great matchup. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, another one of my best bets. I like Leonard Fournette anytime touchdown. It's easy to go here up against this Eagles team where everything for Josh Jacobs is kind of just has disaster written all over it. New coach. So right now I'm just kind of holding any props with Raiders or fantasy just to kind of let this all shake out, see what the new regime kind of brings in. So, yeah, I'm all over Fournette to have a big game here.
Yeah, absolutely. Eagles rushing defense ranks 30th in the NFL. A lot of upside. They're going to lean on Fournette definitely in this game. What about Ronald Jones? In and out of the doghouse. I got him matched up with Sony Michel versus the New York Giants. We were saying earlier, there might be some extra garbage time for the Rams. Maybe Sony Michel can get a little extra production this week. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm in on Sony Michel.
Oh.
Ronald Jones is just meh. He's like a dynasty buy for me. I think that once he moves on from Tampa Bay, he might have a shot at producing something. But right now, I feel like this is Fournette's backfield, and then it's Giovanni Bernard comes in to spell him. So Jones sees one or two carries, maybe I think over the last couple of weeks each game. So for me, I'm going to risk it. I think Sony Michel might have a better run, just because, like we had mentioned, if the Rams get up early, you might see Henderson and Michel get some run late in the second half of that game.
Okay, fair enough. Steve?
I'm actually going to go Sony Michel also. When Henderson came out of that game versus Seahawks, he got in there and he really it was kind of a seamless transition. So I think obviously with the Giants, opportunity will be there if they get up early. And Ronald Jones, I mean, it goes from worse to worse to worse with him. Just really is not anything in this offense. So yeah, I got to pass till he proves something.
All right. Well, you guys sold me. I'll go with Sony Michel. I was going to say Ronald Jones this whole time, but nothing nice to say about Rojo apparently. So yeah, I'll go with you. You guys convinced me. Let's go with Sony Michel. Lock it in.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw him spell Henderson and get a touchdown last week. They kind of use him fairly evenly to an extent.
Yeah, they could even split it. All right, now we're looking at wide receivers. We got Devante Smith tonight versus Brandon Cooks versus Indy. That's a close one, but I really like Devante Smith tonight. I have him in my best bets tonight, Steve. I got him over 5.5 catches, over 74.5 receiving yards. I'm going D Smith.
Go ahead, Steve. If you know,
I'm gonna go Devante Smith too. I like those props you had for him. Just really the guy here. You see a little bit of Quez Watkins. Cooks, really, he was that mega star, it seemed like, to start the year, but it hasn't been consistent. The Colts really gave the Ravens wide receivers a tough time in that first half, so I just don't see Houston really getting it going versus them.
Okay. All right. What do you think? What do you think, Jeremy?
I'll take Devante Smith as well. But it's really, really close. I like Brandon Cooks, just especially if you're playing PPR, because you saw Marquise Brown get loose in the second half of that game. So I think Cooks could have a big game. It's just going to be dependent on how the offensive line holds up and if Davis Mills can produce what he did last week. So it's tough. There's a way more risk, I feel like, with Brandon Cooks, but I feel like the upside might be a little bit higher, honestly. But I'll take Devante Smith. He seems like a safer, guaranteed double-digit point guy than Brandon Cooks this week.
And he's been looking really good the past couple of weeks. Back-to-back games with at least 7 catches, over at least 70 yards in the past 2 games. So he's been looking really good. I'm going to ride with D. Smith.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to not see him get a touchdown, too. So that's where, Devante Smith. Like, I feel like if it's hitting the over, he's going to have at least one,
Oh, well, it's definitely hitting the over. So let's go. D. Smith touchdowns. Next up, we have Jalen Rieger tonight, or Van Jefferson versus the Giants this weekend. I think I like Jalen.
Yeah, I like Jalen Rieger too. Van Jefferson kind of disappeared last week. He seems like a guy that unless he hits that deep shot, he's not really involved totally in that offense. And like we said, I think there's going to be a lot of garbage time in that game, and it's going to be a little bit more run heavy than pass heavy, like we've seen all year. So I'm in on Rieger. I think they're going to have to throw the ball, and they're going to have to throw it more than just Devante Smith. So,
yeah, I like Rieger over Jefferson. What do you think, Steve?
I'm actually going to go Jefferson here. I do agree he is boomer bust. I like his upside a lot more than Rieger. I think we see a lot less of Rieger this game, less snaps on the field for him, more Quez Watkins. Dallas Goedert will, get his healthy dose. So I am going to go Jefferson here.
Dallas is out. COVID.
Oh, okay.
Big Zach Ertz game.
Doesn't change it.
Doesn't change it. I feel you. We had Driscoll earlier mentioning Zach Ertz prop 46.5 yards. I think I like that. I think I like that as well. I'm starting him in my Scott Fishbowl league. So what are you gonna do? Bye weeks.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of 3 wide receiver. You know what I mean? I think you'll see, and even you might see Kenny Gainwell slip outside too. Playing in the slot a little bit.
I hope so much. All right, next up, really close one. Mike Evans tonight or Cortland Sutton versus Las Vegas this weekend. Cortland Sutton coming off of a booming performance. I'm going Sutton. Not saying he's going to repeat it, but he's going to find pay dirt, and he's going to just have a better statistical game than Mike Evans, who may be on, not necessarily an island, but I think he might be the outside looking in, when it comes to those 3 wide receivers.
Actually, I'm going to take Mike Evans. I'm not as super high on Cortland Sutton this week. Vegas is actually decent against wide receivers in the points per game so far this season. And I believe their secondary is pretty banged up still. So I assume that he's going to get their best corner. And I think it's going to be a little bit more towards Teddy Bridgewater, leaning towards Tim Patrick possibly this week. Not that Cortland Sutton's going to have a bad game. I just think Mike Evans I think he might have 1 or 2 touchdowns again tonight. You know what I mean? You're hitting this over, and you're looking at who's going to score for Tampa Bay, and it's going to probably be Mike Evans. It's going to be Antonio Brown. It's going to be
OJ Howard.
Yeah, and it's not going to be OJ Howard. They ain't going to throw the tight ends. It's going to be Mike Evans because, you know what I mean? Brady trusts Gronk in the red zone, and he trusts Mike Evans. Those are the 2 guys, and Godwin at times. But he likes that big target in the red zone. And without Gronk, it's been Mike Evans the last couple of weeks. So I just think that Evans at least sees 1 touchdown. So I feel like they're going to be close. Like you said, it's close, but I'm going to lean Evans just in what I think is going to be a higher scoring game.
But for this one and even the next one, I think it really matters who does get the touchdown. I'm going Mike Evans not to score a touchdown tonight. I would take whatever under his half touchdown or whatever. So I think Cortland Sutton does find pay dirt while Vegas is still trying to find their identity, new play calling, etc. So yeah, I'm gonna go Sutton still. Really confident in that pick actually.
I'm actually going with Sutton here too. I trusted him last week, and he put up big. I think he topped 120 yards. When I was watching the Raiders versus the Bears last week, I was wanting the Bears to take more shots downfield because I thought that they would be open more. I mean, obviously they were running the ball effectively, so I think that's what the Broncos will do. I think Teddy Bridgewater has a guy. Cortland Sutton's a couple years removed from 1,000+ receiving yards, so I liked him to get back to a high level, especially with this matchup.
Yeah, that's really where I'm at with it. I mean. The Eagles secondary has still been pretty good. I don't know who they're going to put on them, whether it's going to be, Stevie Nelson or Darius Slay or Roddy McLeod or even Anthony Harris. I don't know who they're going to try to throw on Mike Evans tonight. I would assume they'd probably give him a couple of different looks, but at the end of the day, I just think that Vegas is more likely to bleed yards than the Eagles. So next one up, Godwin tonight versus Amari Cooper versus New England this weekend. Another tough one. Cooper, back-to-back weeks finding pay dirt, but the volume is not there. I think I like Godwin.
I agree. I like Godwin.
Yeah, I'll put him. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say, I think that Dallas kind of continues to lean a little bit on Zeke and Pollard up against New England. And I just think Godwin sees the end zone too. I think Evans and Godwin do. I'm going to say the trifecta. I think Brown does too. All 3 of them.
Who says they all can't be wide receiver ones?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement. Amari Cooper, he's there, but he can't put up that big game like he had. I believe that was week 1.
Wow.
Still consistent, so he's not going to necessarily be parked on my bench. It's not quite to that next level. Like I thought, Godwin's always my one that I feel like I never throw bets on him or have any shares of him in any of my leagues. And he just continues to produce, take touchdowns away from others when they get, let's say just inside the red zone at the 20, then he'll just catch like a ball in the back of the end zone the next play. And you're like, I really need Antonio Brown or Mike Evans. So I got to ride Godwin here.
Yeah, I'm going Godwin as well. For reference, I had Amari Cooper on my bench in one league, and I had Damian Williams in ahead of him. Now I flipped him in, obviously. Damian Williams out with COVID. So just, another guy that I had a little bit more confidence in over Cooper. Like I said, like the fantasy points have been there because he's finding pay dirt the past couple of weeks, but he only has 6 catches, I believe, on 9 targets. Godwin has 10 catches on 16 targets across the last 2 weeks. So just rolling with the volume there, keeping it simple. Another close one here. Antonio Brown tonight or a Manny Sanders versus Tennessee.
Ooh.
That's a tough one.
I'd
flip a coin, to be honest with you. I love both. I'm
going to take Sanders. Tennessee's defense of backfield is even worse than Tampa Bay's. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of every week I try to post the most points against, and it seems like 1 and 2 just keep flipping depending on which team does worse that week. It's either Tennessee or Tampa, and it's just constant there. So I'm going to take Sanders. I just think that he's more of an integral part of that offense. It seems like this is turned into a Emmanuel Sanders and Dawson Knox offense when Diggs and Gabriel Davis and Beasley are sitting off to the side.
Sorry, Gabe Davis.
Yeah, I really didn't see it coming, and I'm here. I thought it was going to be Gabe Davis and Sanders was going to be like a spelling guy, and it turns out that Josh just loves Emmanuel Sanders, and he still can perform. So I'm in on him. I think they're really close, like you said. I just think Sanders has a possibility to have 20, 25 points this week against a real weak Tennessee defense, just because he sees more volume, I think, than Antonio Brown will in this game. More snaps,
yeah, I agree with you. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, after last week, it's hard not to pick Sanders here. I mean, obviously, Antonio Brown had a big week also. It's so tough with this Buccaneers. I mean, we've said it before, which wide receiver is going to click that game. So I think Sanders has kind of settled in here with this offense, and his role just continued to get bigger and bigger right now.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to go Manny Sanders as well. I like both of them to score a touchdown this week. I do, but I like Manny Sanders higher potential to score 2. So that's where I'm keeping it. Like you mentioned, Jeremy, more snaps. I think more scoring potential this week up against Tennessee. Tennessee's getting back Julio, so I think there's going to be a fair amount of offense. Bills are one of the better teams up against the run, so I think they're going to have to lean in on those receivers, and I think they'll make case. I think they're going to put up points up against the Bills as well. All right, going into the tight ends, we just got a couple of minutes here, about 5 minutes before kickoff. Zach Ertz tonight, no Dallas Goedert, or Jared Cook versus Baltimore this weekend. Jared Cook had a couple of big games, but it's highs and lows. You're not peaks and valleys. You're not really sure what you're going to get.
Zach Ertz. Donald Parham's kind of been stealing touchdowns from Jared Cook. I'm in the red zone. He's been kind of getting involved a little bit more weekly. Zach Ertz is a clear shot. There's no one else behind him, and we know the wide receivers in Philly. It's Devante Smith, and then after that, they're guys that are kind of almost gadgety, you could argue. No one ever steps up to be like that real guy. And I think Zach Ertz has been involved even with Dallas Goedert healthy. So now without him, I like Zach Ertz this week.
I'm going that direction as well. Like I said, starting him in my Scott Fishbowl league. What do you think here, Steve?
I would have 100% with Jared Cook unless he told me Goddard was out with COVID. So I'm going to go Ertz, though, here just because there is, there's not as much behind him. This is the best opportunity he'll have had in a long time. And he has been involved in this offense. So it'll just be more tonight. So I'm going to go Ertz.
And I believe the Bucs are in the top 5 for fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. So there's even more upside for him this evening. I like the Zach Ertz pick tonight. Last one here, we've got Cameron Brate tonight or Mo Alley Cox versus Houston this weekend.
Mo Alley. Houston's second to allowing points at tight ends and PPR. So I'm in on that.
You stole my factoid.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't say that. Forget that. Let Justin say it.
Slam dunk, Mo Alley Cox. What do you think, Steve? Slam dunk?
Yep, I'm going Mo Alley Cox. I was big on him last show. I'm still here.
I'm still waiting for Tampa to make Brate great again. It's not going to happen.
Once
I was
Gronk's
all excited
gone, maybe.
Yeah, I was all excited when that happened. I was like, oh, give me Cameron Brate. I started him in a couple of leagues. I was like, oh, his A dot's high. He's getting targets downfield. Yeah, he can't catch the ball though. Stinks. Pissing
Just
me
give it
off.
time. Dawson Knox couldn't either. And
Yeah, it's really that was really frustrating. I was starting him over Hunter Henry, who's like getting his first and second touchdown of the season. Come on, killing me.
New England, don't get me started with those tight ends. I have enough Jonnu Smith to like. I don't know what to do with.
Henry has outsnapped him. Like, I don't get it because they're both getting paid a ton of money, but Jonnu's just not getting used.
Well, he was for a while. He just wasn't doing anything. Like he was getting a ton of targets, and he just wasn't doing anything with it. It's just kind of like, okay,
he's not max guy. You got to be max guy, and that's Hunter Henry right now. So that's who I'm rolling with. Let's go through some. Oh nope, we're not doing that because we don't have time. Game starting right now. No exotic markets. Sorry, props are closed. Let's jump into our love-hate for Week 6. I'm going to kick it off here. I love Chase Claypool versus Seattle. I know he's got a nice big fat Q next to his name right now, but I think he's going to be just fine come game time. Had a huge game this week after Juju went down. Seattle is in the top 3 for yardage allowed to the wide receiver position. I think this could be potentially Chase Claypool's biggest game of the year. I'm talking closing in on 150 receiving yards, multiple touchdowns. With Juju out, he's going to get even more snaps. He's already a deep field threat. Could get even more usage across the middle. He's a guy that they also like to get involved in the rushing attack, something that they're really trying to lean into right now with that hobbled offensive line and Ben. So I love Chase Claypool this week. Absolutely smash him. If he's in like your flex consideration, sit him or start him and forget him. Just leave him in there. All will be well unless he somehow gets pulled. He had a hamstring injury like 2 weeks ago, and he came back last week and boomed with his production. I'm expecting it again this week. Any objections, agreements there, guys?
I like it. I think you see a little bit of James Washington, but I still think it's going to be Claypool. I like it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, so for my hate, I got James Conner versus Cleveland. Cleveland top 5 for fewest rushing yards allowed on the ground, top 10 for fewest receptions allowed. So I'm not even in on Chase Edmonds this week. They have allowed a few passing touchdowns to the running back position, but other than that, there's very little upside here. Their rushing defense has been very strong. Want to stay away from James Conner this week, who he's had a couple of decent weeks, but it's because of that because of that red zone usage, right? Like he's getting those touches inside the 5, and he's closing in on them. Like hats off to him. But this week, I do not love the matchup with Cleveland. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think that defense is too stout against the run. Austin Eckler did pretty well against them, but yeah, I don't like. I would maybe start him just because that touchdown upside is so high in like the bye weeks, depending on who I had in my lineup. But I'm not feeling great about it. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't say like I hate him. Hate's a strong word for it, but I dislike him starting him this week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm starting J.D. McKissick over him. Would you do the same? McKissick has Kansas City on the books.
Yes. Mainly because I think you see like I'm a little worried about Gibson on the basis that I feel like Washington's going to be throwing a lot in this game, and I worry that McKissick might even outsnap Gibson this weekend, possibly.
It's happened a few times. What was Gibson's injury? Is it like a shin splint or something?
Yeah, it's basically like a shin splint. It's not anything that he can really sit out from what I've been told. It's just kind of like a pain management type injury. So it just depends on. He's just going to probably be questionable all year, from what I've heard. Right. I could be wrong.
All right. What do you think about James Conner, Steve?
I do like James Conner. I mean, like if you just had Edwards-Helaire go down and you need to plug someone in, I think Conner's there just because of the touchdown upside he has. He's really been getting those goal lines carries for him. I do think, though, you got to kind of worry about Kyler Murray to take one of those away from him or Chase Edmonds on a longer play. But I do like Conner this week.
All right, fair enough. I'm staying away just based on the numbers. He's been, like I said, he's finishing inside the red zone, but when Cleveland has gotten down there, they've been able to shut offenses down. So I'm going to stay away. I think more likely Edmonds would be used more in the red zone to try and get something like in motion, just get him moving, so where it's not just something where we're trying to roll downhill into the end zone. I don't think those types of play calling are going to be very efficient up against Cleveland this week.
Yeah, I think a big thing to watch too for that matchup is if Clowney starts. If Clowney plays, then I'm kind of really out. You know what I mean? He was out last week, and we saw on the goal line, you know what I mean? You saw LA be able to get the ball punched into the red zone. I think Clowney definitely helps if he's healthy. I think that kind of makes it a little worse too. So definitely watch that. I don't know. I think he's still questionable, so I don't know what his status is going to be come Sunday. So, but just something to watch.
Who else? Who else do you guys have? Any love hates?
I really like Jacoby Myers this week. They play host to Dallas. I think it's gonna be a little bit of a shootout, a little high scoring, and I just think that Jacoby Myers has made his statement for being the top guy. And I think that I just like him. I think the PPR machine. I think he might find the end zone. And Dallas is pretty weak against wide receivers. They're bottom 5 in points allowed to the wide receiver position. So, and like we had mentioned earlier, the tight ends are kind of meh right now. So, I like Jacoby Myers. He's had double-digit weeks, 2 out of the 5 weeks, or double-digit targets 2 out of the 5 weeks, and he's had 3 double-digit PPR point totals out of those weeks. So, all without touchdowns. So, if he gets there, he might be a low-end or a high-end wide receiver too this week.
Who would you start, Amari Cooper or Jacoby Myers?
Jacoby Myers.
Okay.
Just purely matchup based, and because he's the guy. Volume. You know what I mean? He's the guy there, really. Where you're dealing with CeeDee Lamb in Dallas too, and Cedric Wilson and Zeke and Pollard and all those options.
Dalton Schultz, let's go.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
I thought it was going to be Blake Jarwin, but you know.
Sorry.
It happens.
I was on Team Schultz.
I was on Team Adam Troutman, so let's not talk about
Adam Troutman. Oh, that was sad, huh?
That ended abruptly.
What do you got, Steve?
For my love or hate, I got Jalen Waddle as my love this week. I think it's just they're going across the pond. He's been averaging like 7 targets a game, if not a little over that. I just think it's one of those games where he kind of has a breakout game, and so he's all over my love. I almost stayed in the same game and went with Marvin Jones just because he's had like this decline every week as the season's progressed, and it's gotten to the point where it's like you can't really even play him. Howard and Jones are kind of struggling with some injuries, so that secondary for the Dolphins isn't as good. I'm going to go Robert Tonyan. It just last week against that Bengals game with all that offense, he still couldn't get involved. He's only really put up double-digit points, I believe, in 1 week this year. So just you can't trust him at all.
He passed his tight end powers to Dawson Knox. That's why they passed it off. Tight end they hand shook, and the tight ends it was like Space Jam. It was like sucked it all up. That's why.
That's awesome. So thank you for your season last year. I'm going to take that and I'm going to go that way this year with it. It's hilarious. All right, let's jump into our final starter sits for this weekend. First up, we have Ryan Tannehill versus Buffalo or Derek Carr at Denver. I'm leaning towards Tannehill. He's getting Julio back. A.J. Brown's back. I think the offense is going to be moving. Going to be a high-scoring game. What do you guys think?
I agree. I really don't like either of them. So I'm going to take Tannehill on that basis. The Bills have been really good against wide receivers. However, they really have Tre'Davious White, and after that, they kind of tail off in the corner position. They're not terrible, but they're not great. So if Julio and AJ Brown play, they could struggle a little bit there. So,
and we are in the red zone. I saw an AB completion. I saw a Godwin completion. I saw a Mike Evans completion. Leonard Fournette's running the ball up the middle. We're hitting the over. This is gravy. This is great. What do you think, Steve? Tannehill or Carr?
It's really tough. 2 quarterbacks going up against good defenses. I think I'm going to go Tannehill as well, especially if Julio Jones plays. He gets back some of those weapons. Obviously, hopefully this is a week where we can get AJ Brown in gear and get maybe a season jump started. So I'll still roll the dice here with Tannehill against a very good Buffalo defense.
Yeah, I agree. And Tannehill, just a better quarterback. Just look across the past couple of years. He's just a better quarterback. He's got better weapons. He's got a reliable running back. Buffalo's defense really strong, definitely better than Denver in my opinion. I think they were averaging before the last game. They went into like 11 points allowed per game or something like that. Number 1 in the league. So definitely a tougher matchup, but I'm just going with the better talent. Just give me Tannehill. Pretty simple there. I saw them cue in on Tom Brady's hand. Doesn't look like there's any problem, but the way that they zoomed in on it, it looked like it was like Arthur's fist, like when he's like doing this, like the meme. It was great. But like any Tom Brady injury ever, and everyone loses their minds. Like if this guy broke a nail, they'd be talking like, well, he's not going to be so great tonight. It's a short week. He's got a bum nail.
Right? Everybody tries to find a way that's just going to like slow Tom Brady down because they all are looking for something. Like they're like, well, time's going to catch up with him. And then like now he's beating time. And like it's just like every time. And I mean, trust me, I respect Tom Brady. He's amazing. He's probably the greatest quarterback ever. But it hurts me on the inside because he did this at the expense of the Bills. I still think he has more wins at whatever stadium you want to call it, Highmark, Ralph, whichever you want to call it, than Bills quarterbacks. So it hurts.
Allen's on his way. He's on his way.
He's going to get there eventually, but he's a little behind. But he'll catch up. But
we are inside the 10 now. It looks like we're getting ready for a Buccaneers touchdown. We've got Zach in the chat. He said he was offered Adam Thielen and Miles Sanders for Nick Chubb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. PPR, hold is my opinion. I do not like what you're getting in return.
He's giving
no Miles Sanders for me.
Yeah, it sounds like he's giving away Nick Chubb and St. Brown, right?
I got offered Adam Thielen and Miles Sanders for Nick Chubb and Amon-Ra. I think that he has Nick Chubb.
I'm holding. I think Amon-Ra is going to bust out soon. You even saw the thing from Goff today. There's an article that came out that said he wants to get Amon-Ra involved more in the offense. Cephas going down. There's going to be targets. It's just kind of it's only a matter of time before Amon-Ra St. Brown emerges as at least a PPR weapon, almost like a Jamison Crowder at worst. You know what I mean? Where he sees a lot of targets, a lot of volume. Jacoby Myers, like someone like that.
Yep. Cephas is now on IR, so there's even more upside for Amon-Ra. I'm holding. That's an easy one for me. What do you think, Steve?
Oh, yeah, that's easy. We saw Thielen really put up a stinker. I think that was last week.
O.J. Howard.
Oh, great. Could have used Fournette there. Nick Chubb, too good.
Did he just score? Is that what you're saying?
O.J. Howard.
I'm behind.
He's a bastard.
Gosh.
Go fucking figure. O.J. Howard.
Where? No. I need Chris Godwin to score. Ew. Came out with like 3 tight ends. What the hell are they doing? They even got that many rosters?
Oh, gosh. I love it. By the way, Steve, I have over 10 points for the first quarter.
Yeah, well, you're looking pretty good there.
It's not bad. Zach says thank you. Steve, we kind of cut you off there. What were we saying towards the end about Amon-Ra?
No, I just think Nick Chubb's too talented. We've seen him have some good weeks, but start a little slow. But I think that'll change.
Yeah, big numbers ahead for Chubb this year still. All right, moving along with our final starter sits, we got Jared Goff versus Cincinnati or Carson Wentz versus Houston. Feel like Jeremy's going to say waiver wire again.
Nah, I'm in on Carson Wentz against Houston. I like that matchup. Houston's pretty bad against wide receivers, tight ends. Yeah, he does me too. But I mean, he put up a pretty good game against Baltimore, fantasy point wise. So
well, when you start the game 1 for 3 for 74 yards and a touchdown, yeah, it's going to help the stat line a bit for sure.
Hey man, we've seen bad quarterbacks be fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I know that was just frustrating. It was just getting emotional. Sorry.
I mean, Jared Goff was a QB1 at one point. Now people don't
5,000 yards. Yeah, Mr.
So,
Bus Driver.
It's like the same 2 quarterbacks playing each other. So
I guess I'll go Wentz too. It's just a matchup. Cincinnati defense has a little bit more upside, so I'll go Carson Wentz too. But man, there's vomit in the back of my throat just saying it. Just doesn't. Yeah,
unless they actually involve DeAndre Swift more, like they keep saying they want to, then maybe. And some screenplays, Goff could go off.
Mm-hmm.
He could have a 75-yard.
Yeah, I'm going to go Wentz also. After watching that last week, I was kind of not giving Carson Wentz enough credit. Jared Goff, it's just not a good situation there. This one, it's easy to pass on Goff and go Wentz.
It sounds like T.Y. Hilton's going to be back too, so a little bit more upside there, another weapon. But him and Pittman have looked really good. I have Pittman up on another list here coming up soon. This next one, we're looking at running backs and some receivers. Darrell Williams at Washington versus Khalil Herbert versus Green Bay, or Tyler Lockett at Pittsburgh. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm a little bit out on Lockett. I want to see what the offense looks like with Geno Smith. When they came in, it seemed like Geno Smith was really keen on Metcalf. I think he probably prefers the bigger bodied target a little bit more so than Lockett's style of play. Sure. It could change for a week's full practice, but I want to see it first. So I'm a little bit out on him, especially against a decent Pittsburgh defense. And I'm probably going to take Khalil Herbert. I feel like Green Bay's defense against the run isn't great. And I feel like the Bears are more likely to run than Kansas City is to give it to Darrell Williams against Washington.
Sure. I could see Darrell Williams maybe finishing in the red zone, but I don't look at his total body of work or production to be like really high this week versus Washington. And you also have do you guys believe Jerick McKinnon is going to have a role this week too?
Yeah.
So there's that to take into consideration. I like Khalil. To be perfectly honest with you, I changed this question right before we started when I found out Dame Williams was out. Dame Williams was the name in there, so I'm going Khalil. The role is his. I don't even know who our third running back is behind Khalil right now.
Ryan Nall. Oh yeah.
All right, give me Ryan Nall touchdown. Let's go. But I'll go Khalil Herbert here. Just the volume. He looked good last week. Still, he looked good the week prior. So I'm gonna go Khalil.
Yeah, I definitely think he could, with a big game, he could win this job. So, and I think it's going to be on his mind too. So I think he'll come in a little bit extra motivated.
All right, cool. What do you think, Steve?
I'm going Herbert. The only thing the Bears know how to do is run the ball. I mean, we're last in passing for a reason. So it's Herbert. I think Lockett. This matchup isn't great with Geno Smith at quarterback. I think maybe DK, if anyone, gets a big bump up. I shouldn't even say big, but a larger one between the two. Williams, I think you hit it on the head there, Justin, when you said, will he maybe punch one in the end zone? Yeah, I just don't think the yardage in between that will be too much, just with how pass-heavy their offense can be. So I think Herbert's the easy picker.
Yeah, Khalil looks like a home run this week, and again, I just found out before the show that Dame's going to be out, so that obviously just increases his stock immensely. I was looking at this first play over here while I was listening to you, and man, like Eagles run up an option run play. Like, why do you have to get the play calling to feed into the Buccaneers' strength like right out of the gate? Like, I love that shot they just took to Devante Smith downfield, but like let's warm up a bit. Let's have some pitch and catch between the first 5 to 10 yards. Just get the kid warmed up, get the arm going. I don't like it. I don't like the start so far. Do better, Eagles. Do better.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni's play calling's been a little dicey since he came over here. I feel like
he loves to feed running backs. Feed Gainwell. Come on, let's go. Get with it. Or Miles Sanders. I mean, I don't hate Miles Sanders, but he just really loves Gainwell. I mean, feed one of those guys. All right.
Yeah, I just saw the shot to Smith in replay, and it looked like Gainwell was kind of open underneath for a good 6-7 yards.
I didn't see that, but I wouldn't be surprised. All right, next one here, we got Darrell Henderson Jr. versus the Giants, or Kareem Hunt versus Arizona, or Michael Pittman versus Houston. All that talk about Carson Wentz, I might be in on Michael Pittman, but you got T.Y. Hilton coming back. I don't know. I think I like Henderson still. I think he might be able to find a couple of touchdowns. What do you guys think?
I'm going to take Kareem Hunt. I know it sounds strange, but we saw what they did with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb against L.A. They scored a lot of points, and it was basically through Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and the tight ends. So I'm in on it. I think they're going to have to do the same thing again, what they did against the Chargers, against Arizona. And I think, like we had mentioned earlier, Darrell Henderson could have a big game, but I think they use Sony Michel a little bit more and what's an easier matchup for them. And Michael Pittman's a nice play. But like you said, T.Y.'s coming back. What are we going to see? Do they get up early? Is there Jonathan Taylor, Naeem Hines? A lot of stuff going on there. In Cleveland, it's Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and that's it. That's their show. They apparently forgot they signed OBJ, and Baker just can't throw to him. So I'm in on Hunt. They're using him just so well right now, him and Chubb. So I'm in on it.
Can't forget about David Njoku, 7 for 7, 120 and a touchdown. I don't know where that came from.
I picked him up off of 3 waivers and didn't start him. And now I'm probably going to start him. If I start him, I'll let you guys know because he'll probably get 0 for 1. One target, 0 yards.
That's how it goes. Who do you got here in this 3, Steve?
I'm actually going Kareem Hunt too. I do have a good amount of shares of him, so this is maybe me just being hopeful. But I think they just really ride the backs of their running back. They know if they can kind of control it through that with a good defense that they have, they'll be successful in more games than they're not. Obviously, some of them, when it comes to being like a shootout like last week versus the Chargers, they just don't have enough. But they're just going to continue to run these two and change them out just to win games. So I think it's easy, Kareem Hunt, especially in the passing game.
All right, fair enough. Well, at least we're all going with a running back, prioritizing the running back over Michael Pittman at least. I still think Henderson could have a pretty good game, but you guys are right. Maybe Sony Michel does come in and steal some touches.
Yeah, to be honest though, if I could, I'd start all three of them. I like them all this week.
Oh.
I just like Kareem Hunt the best.
Good problems to have. Good problems to have. All right, next up we got Kadarius Toney blowing up the wide receiver room for the New York Giants. He's got the Rams on deck. Jalen Waddle at Jacksonville in London, or Jamal Williams versus Cincinnati. Steve, you already mentioned Jalen Waddle. Your love for the week. Solid to go over these two.
Yeah, I mean it is a little tough because Kadarius Toney and that Giants wide receiver room is just so depleted right now. I do think they're maybe getting Sterling Shepard back. Toney obviously having a breakout last week, but a really tough matchup versus the Rams, and that's really what it came down to me. Jamal Williams, I'm just not really sold on him. I think this is the game for Jalen Waddle.
Okay, Jalen Waddle time. I'm still going Kadarius Toney myself, but I'm invested. I've got some shares. I want to see it happen. I want another performance from last week, and he didn't even play the whole game. So I'm going Toney. As long as I don't see anything crazy pop up on the medical report, like he's questionable, but they keep saying he's fine, something serious. So as long as that all checks out, I'm going with Toney here.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Waddle. It depends for me. It's game time. Someone asked me a question about this too. They showed me a picture of the roster, and they had Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard. I like Toney over Shepard, but I like it if they both play. Because if Toney ends up having to face Jalen Ramsey, I really don't like it. But if Shepard plays, I feel like they're going to stick Ramsey on Shepard over Toney. So then I kind of like it. Because the Rams have actually been kind of bad against wide receivers, but Jalen Ramsey hasn't. So it's kind of like their second to third corners are struggling a little at the moment. So if Toney's the guy, it actually makes it worse for me, in my opinion.
I don't know. I feel like Toney's still a guy that you can move all over the field. It's not like, Ramsey would literally have to shadow him, like follow him everywhere, because he's a guy that you keep in motion. He's not like your traditional X receiver that you're just because he's the one, you're going to line up outside every single time. No, you're going to try to leverage his talents and get him into space. So we got Richard Sherman going to the locker room, another defensive back down for the Bucs. Not like he was a full one anyways, but yeah, I don't think Toney's going to have that big of an issue. I think he'll get moved around a lot. You might even see him grab touches at running back the way that he was looking last week.
That's true.
All the yards he was getting after the catch. What's that?
Especially with Barkley down, I could see him using him that way because he got used that way in Florida. He was a utility guy.
I don't know what just happened here, but I think that there's going to be pass interference. Coming back or pass interference? I saw Jalen. I'm looking at Jalen Rieger catch down the sideline into the red zone.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, he didn't catch it, but yeah, pass interference.
But the PA though is what's going to get it. Man, Jamal Dean is just pretty bad. Like really, he did not need to do that. He was not going to catch that. So a lot of Pierre Desir time with Sherman out. A lot of Pierre Desir and Jamal Dean. It's not going to be great.
Jalen Hurst throws a real nice PI ball. He does.
He would
Underthrows
work
everything.
really well with Henry Ruggs in that lineup.
Yeah.
Underthrow
it. It's a key.
Got a few left here. Looks like we're getting an exciting, high-scoring game. Allen Robinson versus Green Bay, Marvin Jones versus Miami, or Myles Gaskin at Jacksonville in London.
Myles Gaskin. I'm back in.
I'm in. Ertz.
There we go.
There it is.
I don't like you guys are ahead of me, okay?
All right. Hey, matter of fact, when I was watching your show this Sunday, you were way ahead of me, all right?
Was I?
You were telling me all sorts of bad things that were about to happen in that Jets and Atlanta game. All sorts of bad things.
Yeah, I was ahead of Ryan, too. I don't know how that happened.
It's funny because I'm always behind everybody. I'm behind Steve. I'm behind like Nick or Emron. Whoever's on the show, I'm always behind them. I'm always the last. So this is kind of fun. Yay, touchdowns.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that coming. Zach Ertz scored. No.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how far I'm behind. So
Yeah. I'm really up in the air with this one. I guess I'll go Gaskin too, just because at this point I'm just going to start him and just say screw it. If it doesn't work out, then it's not working out. I'm just going to leave him in because I'm tired of it. Tired of all this back and forth. So I guess I'll go Gaskin. I've benched Robinson last week. I have Robinson still on my bench this week. It's tough to love with Fields not really targeting anybody downfield. The rushing offense for the Bears is really their identity so far. So, and Marvin Jones, like Steve, you mentioned earlier, too many highs and lows. You don't know what you're going to get. So I guess I'll go Gaskin.
It's also looking like, I think I saw an article saying Devontae Parker is trending down. So, I mean, you're also possibly missing him again. So I just feel like Gaskin will get that work in the passing game again.
Yeah. So that was definitely a factor last week. So what do you think on this one, Steve?
Yeah, I was actually going to hit on Devontae Parker. Didn't practice Wednesday. With them depleted, that's really where Gaskin got his bump last week. 10 targets, 10 catches, really helped him. So with that with all those wide receivers being hurt, I picked up Gaskin off my waiver. Someone dropped him Sunday morning, and then he went off for that. So I dropped a decent amount of fab, but I just like it. You're obviously getting someone on that team who is going to get the carries. Last week he just got game scripted so that I think they're all together. There's only like 7 carries for the Dolphins in that entire game between all their backs. So obviously with the small workload, he's not going to produce, but the Jags, he should get plenty of opportunity here to beat up that defense.
Man, I hope so. And it's in London, so maybe the Jags they play worse there. I know Miles Jack is out because I have him in IDP everywhere. So I don't know if that really gives them any more upside or extra leverage, but missing a starting linebacker for what it's worth. All right, let's jump into the tight ends, and then we're going to close it out here. We got Dan Arnold versus Miami or Tyler Conklin versus at Carolina. Excuse me. I think I'm going Arnold here.
Yeah, I agree. I like Dan Arnold. In his first full week, I mean, he saw 8 targets even after he fumbled the ball on the first play. So I like it. I think Dan Arnold, especially mentioned DJ Chark, they need receiver options. I mean, their third option right now is Tavon Austin, and that's not acceptable.
I think he may have had more targets than LaVisca last week. Is like I was vomiting.
Dan Arnold? Yeah, he did.
Oh, I was saying Tavon.
Oh, yeah, he might have too. I don't really know. I saw something. Dan Arnold had an absurd target share yesterday.
And Jamal Agnew. Why are these guys why are these special team players getting prioritized over LaVisca and Marvin Jones? I
have no idea.
Well, I don't know. I'm going Arnold as well. What do you think, Steve?
I'm going Arnold. He's one of my dynasty tight ends. This trade actually to the Jaguars. At first, I was kind of like, shit, he's going to the Jags. Let's see how this works out. But he's actually been like a red zone target for them. So I like it. Target share you mentioned earlier is huge. So Arnold's my guy.
All right, sounds good. We're all in agreement there. And the last one, the studs at tight end so far this year. Dalton Schultz at New England or Dawson Knox at Tennessee. It's really tough, but I think I'm going to lean towards Knox at Tennessee just because of that Tennessee defense being so freaking bad.
They're actually pretty good against tight ends. I mean, that's their bright spot. But I mean,
you got to be good at
super good, but they're better than the rest of it. I mean, it's their best part of their defense, but it ain't great. But yeah, I'm in on Knox right now until Josh Allen stops targeting him and goes back to Cole Beasley. I'm in on Dawson Knox. Like I said, this Bills offense, not even just being a homer. They're just so high powered right now and scoring points at will. Doesn't matter who they play. And Dawson Knox is the beneficiary of that, especially in the red zone. Josh kind of likes to target him there. And even we saw the deep shot last week against Kansas City. So I'm in on it.
Honestly, right now, both of these guys, they're just normal flex plays for me. I would start them in the flex beyond my starting tight end. So, what do you think about this one, Steve?
I do.
After Dawson Knox's last performance, it's really hard not to pick him. And on a team that's just rolling. So, Schultz, obviously, so is his team. He just draws, I think, a bit of a tougher matchup against New England, where you hit on it. Tennessee, their defense is like Swiss cheese. So Dawson Knox all day.
Yep, I agree with you there. Dalton Schultz, I'm starting him and Zach Ertz tonight. Zach Ertz already got the touchdown, but one of those situations where I'm just well, screw it. Schultz is putting up wide receiver numbers. I'm just throwing him out there every week until he gives me a huge reason not to. would probably have to be an injury because him and Dak look like they're just, they're connected. Same page, fireworks, chemistry's there. I love it. So, all right, cool. Well, that's it here. We got about a 7-7 score, just under 5 minutes left in the game or of the first quarter. What am I talking about? I already hit the over. I got the over 10 points, so that was cool. Got the Jaylen Hurts first touchdown. Need one more. That's looking good. Did Devante Smith get a catch on that drive?
I don't think he made one against. I think he had a target.
Yeah, Quez had that really weird one. That was a tip ball, and then Rieger had the pass interference. Hurts had a couple of rushes up the field, so it doesn't look like it yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there. You guys have anything to close it down with before we head out?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, chilling. Any big plans for week 6? Sitting at home?
I get married on Saturday.
Hey,
big news.
Go.
There's some big news. So
that's exciting.
I will be chilling. Unfortunately, we don't have a start shit show because obviously I might not be capable of it. So, but yeah, if you need help this weekend, I probably won't be able to help you with start sit questions. I'll be a little.
I'm glad that we got you in then. And glad you got you in. Get your fix for the week. You got no show on Sunday. Yeah,
we missed it on Tuesday too because family emergency. So
sure.
It's just my itch. I had to get it when you messaged me on Twitter. I was like, oh yeah, got to get that in there. So, thank you for having me on again.
Oh yeah, of course. The door is always open for you. Always open to come in. Anything that you want to plug other than your wedding? I'll try not to crash it. I know you're a little ways away, but
yeah, you can come. It wouldn't be a crashing. It's only crashing if I don't want you there. I'd accept it.
It's a bit of a drive. I do have a show Sunday morning, sir. So
it would be a little tough.
I'm married to my wife.
Back, and stuff. I understand. It's okay. But yeah, no. I mean, you can find any of my writing over at Sports Gambling Podcast Network and Yards Per. And follow me on Twitter. Ask me questions there at PopesFFH. I try to answer everyone. I'm not super popular yet, so I have time to answer everybody's. So.
More popular than you think. More than you think. How about you, Steve? You got anything? Any big plans for the weekend?
Chilling, waking up early, watching another London football game, and just sitting on the couch for way too long.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, it's pretty much how the Sundays go. I need to start working out during football. I was in a really good regiment before the season started, and then the season started, and in my free time I sleep.
Yep,
that's what I'm doing now. So gotta get back on that. But that's pretty much what my Sunday looks like. I've got stat tracker, TV. And that's where my eyes go, and my wife hates it.
Yeah, I got. I'm gonna have Red Zone fired up, and I'm gonna have as much junk food as possible because wedding diet. So whatever I can get my hands on, pizza, chocolate, whatever I can get on.
Where's the honeymoon? Where are you headed?
We're actually going to Cabo. So
nice. Let's go.
Nice. Yeah,
out of the cold. Let's get it.
Yeah, should be a good time. So I'm gonna be committed.
We'll enjoy that.
I'll be on Twitter because she likes to read, so she'll be sitting there reading. And I'll just be that guy on Twitter,
retweeting.
Yeah, retweeting. I'll be reading in essence. So
exactly. Well, enjoy that, man. Congratulations. Have a blast. Have a good time. And if it's not good, be good at it. That's what I always say. So
yeah, it'll be fun. Right. It'll be warm.
Take care. Absolutely. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. Me and Steve will be here on Sunday, sitting around watching football, talking to y'all. Take care.
Yes, sir.
Later.